So today I'm going to be talking about this game, Marvel Spider-Man 2. And my reason for talking about the game is just to basically explain that I hate the story of this game. I absolutely despise the story of this game, and the reason I hate it lies right in front of you. It's this right here. This stupid fucking symbiote, the symbiote suit and Venom himself, in my opinion, ruined the story of Marvel Spider-Man 2. And as much as I loved the story of Spider-Man 2018, Spider-Man PS4, I loved the story of Spider-Man Miles Morales because those games came with emotion, and I was able to relate true, actual emotion. The first game of Peter losing a mentor, losing a friend and mentor to something that was either out of his control or something that he felt he needed to do. Completely losing himself in that and watching his mentor go from this hero, his hero, to something so evil, to someone so deadly. The story of Martin Lee, that was Otto Octavius. The story of Martin Lee watching a good man turn bad, watching two great men turn bad, and then Peter seeing this person he looked up to so much become this horrible person and become this person that could commit such evil acts. And you could hear the emotion in Peter's voice at the end. Yuri Lowenthal's just pure, raw emotion at the end of the game. Think of the man you were. You know, you were everything I wanted to be, trying to save the world. You never gave up. All that emotion, that stuff that just hit us like a ton of bricks. It's void in this game. It doesn't exist. It's emotionless. I felt nothing at this game, and it's all due to this right here. I had the black suit on now. Now I'm gonna switch it to the more evolved symbiote suit, I guess you could call it. It's this fucking thing right here. Ruin this fucking game. Not the game. Ruin the story of the game. And before I get into why this game kind of broke my heart, I'm gonna go on a little bit more of an explanation of why this kind of meant something to me and why this hurt me so much. Because this is gonna be kind of a tale, a rant of what this game could have been, the emotion this game could have pulled out. Sorry, could have pulled out of us like the first game, and it's going to be more of what this could have been, um, rather than a critique of what it is, because that's the reason it's so bad and it's such a missed opportunity. And I think that both Venom and Craven were wasted. I could give a fuck about Venom. I think Craven was brutally wasted, and I'm going to get into that. But first, let me explain that this character here, Spider-Man, Peter Parker specifically, I've been a huge fan since I was 5 years old. I'm gonna be 30 in a couple months. So for about 25 years, I've been a massive Spider-Man fan, and from the comics to the all the animated series to the Maguire movies to the Garfield movies to Tom Holland's Spider-Man to No Way Home, everything in the media. And over the years, it's hurt to be a Spider-Man fan, whether it be as far as the comics goes. We've lived and died with Peter from the Stan Lee comics, the Lee Ditko comics, from JMS to the Clone Saga, and then Dan Slott's amazing run on the Amazing Spider-Man. The rise and fall of Parker Industries through Superior Spider-Man. Then Nick Spencer's run, and now I'm currently going through Zeb Wells' run. I need to catch up, but there's been so much in the comics that has made me relate to this character. And then there's all the animated series. We have Spectacular Spider-Man. We have the amazing Christopher Daniel Barnes 90s Spider-Man that got me into the character in the first place. We have Ultimate Spider-Man Drake Bell's, which I don't really love that much, but it was still okay. We have the new animated series where Neil Patrick Harris voices the character. I've already mentioned Josh Keaton's Spectacular Spider-Man, and it's a disaster that that series didn't continue, just as it is the new animated series, just as it is Spider-Man Unlimited, which was a little goofy. That was Reno Romano in the late 90s who voiced the character at the time. But all that aside, That could be a separate video actually. The heart, like why it's so heartbreaking and so sad, and so why it's been so difficult growing up as a millennial Spider-Man fan, because all this shit has been canceled on us. Even fucking Garfield not being Spider-Man anymore. I mean, Tom Holland is fine, but I would have much rather seen an Amazing Spider-Man 3 than have the series be rebooted. Whether that be popular opinion or not, I don't give a fuck. But let's talk about this right here. Let's talk about why this game, why the story of this game, in my opinion, it was a waste. It was emotionally void. And I'm not going to really edit much of this. My big rant there in the beginning was just to explain um, why I think the story was such a mess and why it hurt me as much as it did in a way. So the problem with the story is that about halfway through the game, or if you play through the game in the story, Peter gets the symbiote, and it's through means of Harry Osborn. Now, when Harry Osborn, who's sick and dying, we know that he's sick, we learned this from the first game, he's cured by this. This makes him feel better, the Venom symbiote makes him feel much better. And not only does it improve his health, but it gives him superpowers. The symbiote is giving him the powers, and during this time, this kick-ass villain, Kraven the Hunter, Kraven and his team of hunters, they come to New York looking for a hunt, right? Because Kraven's dying. Kraven's dying, and we get it. He wants a hunt. He wants to go out. He doesn't want, some disease to take him. He wants somebody who's worthy, somebody who's equal to fight him and beat him. Now that's fine, but as far as they go on this end here, when Peter gets the symbiote, he goes completely angry. His emotions change. He becomes rash. He becomes out of control. He becomes violent. And the symbiote even hijacks his body. And he almost kills MJ in that scene. That's right after he gets the symbiote off. And then finally, when Venom comes in, I kind of checked out. I was completely checked out of the story after Venom comes in and this whole symbiote invasion comes in, because there was no reason to care about anything past the point that I'm going to talk about here. Now, when Peter and Harry team up to fight Kraven and his hunters, Kraven stabs Peter and quote unquote kills him. To save his life, Harry gives Peter, or the symbiote that's saving Peter, that's saving Harry's life, that's keeping him alive and giving him superpowers, goes on to Peter to save him. Peter wakes up and becomes a more powerful, more enraged version of himself, as I'm explaining. Now, this is popular in media. It's happened in media before. It happened in Spider-Man 3 from 2007, the Tobey Maguire movie. It's happened in multiple animated series, but they've also adapted it to this game. And, in my opinion, it ruined what could have been an amazing emotional story, because that anger, the anger that we see towards Kraven, it's especially Kraven, because remember when he's like, you know, the hunters, they wrecked the EMF, their EMS, I'm sorry, EMF, the MLA May Foundation. They wrecked Peter's life. It's all because of Kraven and his hunters. Yeah, he's angry at Kraven and his hunters, but that anger and that rage, how much of it is through this symbiote, and how much of it is actually organically through Peter Parker himself? We'll never know, because this thing here, it makes him, all the anger, all the rage that he holds is completely fabricated. We have no idea how much of it is coming from Peter and how much of it is influenced by this symbiote. Look at it this way. Think about a time that you were super angry, that you felt like you could have just tore a building down through raw anger. We've all had it. Everybody's been super angry, because anger is a feature, not a bug. It's a natural human emotion. And there's a lot of pain that comes with anger. Somebody hurt you, somebody wronged you, you felt wrong and betrayed in some kind of way. When you're super, just incredibly angry at somebody, it's a hell of an emotion. What emotion more than anger makes you feel more alive? And this has happened to me. It's happened to me in real life because there was a period of time when I wasn't angry for a while, which is a good thing. I'm not saying you should be angry. If you're angry all the time, you should probably get some help with that. But nevertheless, it's still relatable. It's a relatable human emotion, and we just don't see that from Peter in this game, not organically at least. All the anger and all the pain he feels, it's all set forth through this fucking symbiote, and we don't even know how much of it comes from Peter. We have no idea how much of it comes from within, because all the anger and the rage, it comes with him while he has this fucking thing on him that influences him, and he didn't even choose it. He didn't even choose the thing to make him stronger at a cost. It was dawned upon him. It's void. It is emotionless. Think about the times when in Peter's stories, and I'm gonna refer to the comics when he's felt super fucking angry, when we just felt pure rage. Remember in Remember in the night Gwen Stacy died, how angry he was at Goblin. You've killed the woman I love. Remember how angry he was. Remember in Back in Black when right after Civil War when Kingpin hired that sniper to go and uh, shoot Peter, and they hit May instead after a mistake that Peter. Remember how enraged he was, and that came from within. Yes, he came out with the black suit, but it was just a piece of cloth. It wasn't influenced by anything. It was pure, unadulterated, unprecedented rage, all from within. Pure emotion. Beat the shit out of Kingpin right in front of the prisoners. Remember he said, I want to do this with a crowd. Remember he had his fucking wrist up to his mouth. He said, I'm gonna blast you with web fluid, and you're gonna suffocate and die. But he didn't do it. He just beat the brakes off of him. And oh, remember when one of my favorite super strength Peter moments is in that comic when Peter, like after he sees May gets hit, Peter throws a fucking Jeep Cherokee about 5 stories high at the person. There's the panel with the fucking Jeep floating. He literally lifted the Cherokee and threw it. Like, why can't we have any of that? Oh, how about the time? I think it was sometime in One More Day when Peter and Betty Brant they would hang out, ever so often during the weeks, and they were gonna watch a movie together. And Betty decided to go alone, but she got mugged. Remember how angry Peter was, and he hunted that guy down. I forget what the guy's fucking name even was, but he hunted that guy down. In the Criminals of New York, they said, "You look the fuck out. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Spider-Man like this. But when he finds you, he's gonna rip you to pieces." And we get none of that. We don't get any of that. It could have been raw. We just get it all through this fucking symbiote. We don't even get it through the lens of Peter Parker's organic brain himself. Imagine how amazing it would have been. You know, I'm going to use one more example of Peter's anger in the I'm going to use Craven's Last Hunt. Remember when Peter rises from the grave and he just beats the tar out of those two fucking guys? He just fucks those guys up in a rampage. Or recently in Zeb Wells' run, when it was either Nick Spencer or Zeb Wells, I forget, when Tombstone kidnaps him and he leaves, and there are those guys in the warehouse, and Pete just annihilates the place. And even afterwards, he realizes what he's done. He said, "What was I thinking? I tore through that place like a madman." And it's like, yeah, it would have been awesome to get some of that in this fucking game, but no, we don't deserve it. We don't deserve to play as a fucking organically enraged Spider-Man. It all has to come through this stupid fucking symbiote, and it ruined the fucking emotion of this game. Imagine this. Now I'm gonna go into what I think could have happened. Imagine the first game, right, where Peter he couldn't save Aunt May, he couldn't save Jefferson Davis. How you know how the toll that could take on that took on Peter? They allude to it in this game, but once again, the anger doesn't come out through organic Peter. It comes out through this fucking symbiote. Once again, we don't get to see it. Imagine this. Imagine if the story would take place as if Craven he's killing the villains, right? As he kills Vulture and Shocker and Scorpion. What if Peter and Miles were trying to save them? What if they were trying to save the enemies, and Craven was hunting them down, but he's just such a fucking beast badass that he's just annihilating these enemies, and Peter and Miles can't save them, just like Peter couldn't save May, just like Peter couldn't save Jefferson Davis. And imagine it getting to Peter. Peter becomes so angry at Craven that Craven's got the one up on him. That Craven is just this fucking wrecking machine. And instead of and that's another thing. The fight against Craven, once again, we don't know if Peter and or Miles could have beat him organically because he beats him in the symbiote. Or, you know, I understand Miles knocks him off him, but Peter was gonna kill him under the influence of the symbiote. Can you imagine if Peter got super angry without this fucking thing and just was gonna beat the shit out of Craven, came back and he was annihilating Craven after he kidnapped Miles, but Miles had to talk him down without the symbiote? Do you know how much more that would have meant? Do you know how much more impactful for Miles? The Miles got hosed in this story too. But do you know how much more developed Miles would have been too if him to go to his mentor and say, "Look, you're not even under the influence of anything. You're just not thinking clearly because you're so enraged." And for him, Miles to say, "Look, I know you're hurt. I know you weren't there to save May. You feel like you weren't good enough to save May, to save Jefferson, to save Vulture, to save Shocker, to save Scorpion. And Craven got the best of us. We weren't good enough that time. But now we are. We're good enough. We won, finally." And for Miles to actually be able to talk Peter out of doing something crazy? Or how about this? How about if Craven kidnapped MJ and Miles' family? But while they kidnapped them, imagine if Craven sent his hunters out. Or what if he had a supervillain under mind control? What if he had like Rhino under mind control or something destroying the city? It's Rhino and his hunters absolutely annihilating the city. And Peter is so devastated at the loss of the other villains and at the loss of May and Jefferson that he wants to go and fight Craven and save MJ and Miles' family instead of going off and fighting off and saving the civilians of New York. Imagine if he was going to completely throw his responsibility to the wayside and then you have Miles talking him down saying, "Look, I understand that Craven has MJ and Genki and Haley and his mother. I understand he has them hostage, but we need to help the citizens of New York now." And then Peter, through his own anger, wants to fight back and wants to go and save, but Miles has to talk him down or even fight him and best him in a way to say, "Hey, look, we have to go stop Rhino, just like we did before. We have to go stop whatever's going on, Craven's hunters, from attacking and killing the civilians of New York. And then we'll go deal with MJ. Because MJ and Rio and Genki, they're strong and they're smart and they're going to survive." That would have been a million times more meaningful than the fucking Miles Peter symbiote fight. Do you know how much more that would have meant? Because it wouldn't have been under the influence of, once again, this stupid fucking symbiote. This is a disaster, what happened with the story of this game. This could have been so much more impactful, so much more meaningful. The gameplay trailer, when um, that came out about a year ago, introducing the symbiote himself when he tears out of Connor's house, when the beast could be anywhere. You have no idea. And then we see the symbiote. Imagine if Peter tore out with the advanced suit with the iron arms, or an Insomniac original. Like, where did he get this suit? A newer tech suit. He tore out with the arms, and he's throwing gadgets around, and he's knocking the shit out of everyone. Imagine instead of Connor's house, imagine if that was May's house. Imagine if they were trying to capture Peter for Craven to fight, Peter or Miles. Saying, "You know what, that's May's house. We're going to attack May's house because Craven knows Peter's identity, and they're going to take him by force. They're going to destroy things that..." And Peter defending his dead aunt's house out of pure anger. Can you imagine what that would have meant? Imagine if they put that out. They're fucking they're attacking May's house, and Peter comes out just saying, "You picked the wrong house," and he just wrecks these guys. Now he can still even say, "Craven wants a hunt. I'll give him one he'll never forget." But instead of it coming from the symbiote, it's coming raw from within, raw, unprecedented fucking anger, and warranted anger at that. He's just gonna tear Craven apart, but it has nothing to do with the symbiote, nothing to do with outside influence, but everything to do with what he's felt, what he went through in the first game, and what he went through in this game. Everything to do with that, it comes absolutely 100% from within. And then imagine if, for him to beat Craven, for Peter and Miles to beat Craven, instead of it just being Peter, imagine if Craven was such an ass-kicking wrecking machine that um, they couldn't do it with their powers alone, and they had to build new suits. That would have been a perfect opportunity for them to create new Insomniac original, awesome new tech suits, right? For Peter and Miles to go in, not with raw power of this fucking symbiote, but with their brains. And then finally, they could have bested Craven. To have Peter Parker and Miles Morales, our Spider-Man, working together to finally fight off this what seems like insurmountable odds. Now, isn't that Spider-Man? Relatable emotions, anger, regret, and then finally coming out on top, just coming, just overcoming what seems like insurmountable odds. What better of a Spider-Man? What better of an emotional Spider-Man story can you get than what I just explained? And I just fucking threw that together. All that I just said would have meant a million times more than this fucking garbage that we got with this fucking symbiote suit. But you know what? You know what? The the Venom symbiote and Venom himself, it makes money. It makes fucking money. And they only care about us if we can line their pockets. Fuck a good story. Fuck what we as fans care about. And I know a lot of people ate this up. Oh, it's harnessing what Peter actually feels on the inside. It's representative of that. How do you know that? Well, we don't know because we don't know how much of this fucking symbiote was influencing what he actually feels. It's sickening to me of what we got. And the whole symbiote invasion thing, smoke and mirrors. Absolute fucking smoke and mirrors. You know what? All that fucking shit. It was fine in Web of Shadows because that game was like more cartoony. I want this to be grounded because I want to fucking feel something. And that's what I thought they were doing when the first game came out. Pure relatability, pure raw emotion that we can relate to. This is fucking trash. And I think I've explained myself far enough. But you know what? A roaring Venom, that makes money. Fuck Harry Osborn. Who gives a fuck about Harry Osborn? He wasn't even present. He's barely present in the first two games. How about Peter and Miles? How about that? How about Peter and Miles having to overcome, insurmountable odds that Craven is? How about make Craven the center of attention? But once again, Venom makes money. Think about it. Peter in the first game, he was never really lost. Like I get it, he got his ass kicked. He got his ass kicked by Doc Ock, but eventually he won. He was able to put his villains away. Shit, he fought Electro and Vulture, and then Scorpion and Rhino 2-on-2, and he came out on top all by himself. But finally, imagine if there was a villain introduced, aka Craven, that Peter couldn't fucking beat, and he has to call upon Miles and their wit and their skill together, their abilities together, to overcome this insurmountable enemy, this foe. That's how they should have taken it. That's how they should have done Craven instead of having Venom kill him. To just ruin Craven, ruin the story for Peter, make it void of emotion, and make Craven fucking completely thrown to the wayside. That's how they should have done it. That's what they should have done. Get rid of this fucking symbiote, and then you got an emotional Spider-Man story. We didn't get that. We got this. It's all smoke and mirrors, emotionally void, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified of what they're gonna do with Spider-Man 3. I mean, if Norman Osborn isn't making Peter Parker's life absolute hell in the next game, I want nothing to do with it because this story should have hit like a ton of bricks, and it didn't do anything. And I've even heard streamers, people say, YouTubers, people that really enjoy this universe say, why the hell didn't I feel anything? Well, I just explained it. I explained why you felt nothing. I felt nothing. I wanted to cry when at the start of the symbiote invasion when I first played this game last year. I wanted to fucking cry. I was so upset. Not really cry, obviously, but I was fucking upset. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was completely checked out. It was meaningless. And you know what? The traversal is great. Awesome traversal system. I have a lot of fun swinging around the city. Combat's still great. Lots of fun. But this story meant absolutely nothing. And as a Spider-Man fan who loves this universe and who just wants this universe to be great, meant nothing, and it's really really upsetting. That's all I have to say about this. That's my raw feelings about the game, about the story. Um, do what you want with it, but that's all I have to say. I'm all good for you know the rest of this game's life. I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it is. I'm gonna enjoy the traversal. I love swinging around the city. I'm gonna do some combat here and then. I'm gonna do a new game plus run. I'm gonna try and do the whole story in one day, the main story in one sitting. I understand. I hate the story. I'm still gonna do that just because I find the gameplay to be fun. But other than that, this is just complete garbage. Hopefully the DLC can rectify some of this. But as of now, I'm disgusted with the direction they brought this in. I've never been a Venom guy for that reason. Although Venom Eddie Brock in the comics is a much more interesting character than what we've seen on screen. Um, but like I said, this whole rage coming from the symbiote thing, I can't deal with it. I can't be asked to give a fuck about like being close to this relatable character when that shit goes on. So I think I've said everything that I want to say, everything that needs to be said. That's all from me. Thanks.